I think of Asia quite a bit. This book, The Lotus and the Cross, Orthodox
Oh,
Christianity in China.
wow.
I read this book and it got me kind of fired up about Orthodoxy in China, in like Asia. She was a Buddhist, became evangelical Christian. But when she found Orthodoxy and even just entered into the divine liturgy for the first time, she was like, oh my goodness, this is Christianity. I think that's really important to think about how we can fund missions, not only in the U.S., but places where Orthodoxy can really take off. And I think of Asia quite a bit. This book, The Lotus and the Cross, Orthodox
Oh,
Christianity in China.
wow. I'm going to write that down.
It's a book by St. Nicholas Press. It's a good book.
Wow.
But I read this book and it got me kind of fired up about Orthodoxy in China, in like Asia.
Craig Trulia
Because
talks about that a lot.
who?
Craig Trulia.
Yeah, he's got a mission in what country is that?
Cambodia.
Cambodia. That's right. I really respect that a lot.
Me too.
Not to say that other missions around the world don't matter, but Asia is still this very unreached place, but it's also very conducive to Orthodoxy. And here's an example. This book gives somebody, I think he was Chinese. She was evangelized by the evangelicals. She becomes a Christian,
Okay.
which is a big step, right? Like I believe in Jesus. But then eventually, and there aren't very many Orthodox missions even in China because they're not allowed. There are certain spots where it's allowed, and I think this is where one of the missions she ran into. But she was like, when I went in, not only did she believe that she found like deeper Christianity, but like this was a fulfillment of her past, like her culture.
Yeah.
She was a Buddhist, became evangelical Christian. But when she found Orthodoxy and even just entered into the divine liturgy for the first time, she was like, oh my goodness, this is Christianity. And she became an Orthodox Christian because it just fits so well in that sort of traditional culture.
Ritual worship. And
Yeah,
also,
like the worship that you find in the temple in the early church, and of course Orthodox Christianity. It fulfills so much of the human longing.
yeah, that's right.
And that's what she found.
And I mean, I don't know. This is a shallow comment. We have a one of our readers is in the Air Force, and he spends a lot of time in Japan. He speaks Japanese. He loves going to the Japanese Orthodox churches, and you look at like the pictures of the Japanese bishops, and it just works, right? They look like samurai who are Orthodox bishops. It's just so cool, and it's amazing how if you read, I don't know much about the Orthodox Church in Japan, but it's the same kind of thing. There's like the somehow Japanese culture harmonizes really well with Orthodoxy in a way that like it really seems like no other form of Christian. Not to say that there aren't devout Christians of other brands or whatever in Japan, but it seems so. There's that movie Priest Son. Have you seen that? No, it's Carrie. What's his name? He's in Man in the High Castle. He plays the wise elder guy in Man in the High Castle, and
Okay.
he plays a member of the Yakuza who converts to Orthodoxy and becomes a priest, and it's about the Yakuza kind of like hunting him down, I think. But he actually converted to Orthodoxy in the course of making this movie and gained Russian citizenship. But the whole idea is that like this is a modern day samurai who kind of lays down his sword to follow the path of peace. And so it's like this is probably the most famous Japanese actor, like with a global presence, right? Probably like the most famous Japanese actor in the world playing an Orthodox priest in this movie that was produced in Russia and Japan.
How about that?
That's really something.
Yeah.
And then that kung fu movie they made about like Albanian monks or whatever. It's just this is something that really captures the imagination of very different peoples.
Film is pretty powerful. I'm interviewing Dr. Nathan Jacobs, who's an Orthodox philosopher who also was a screenwriter in the Hollywood world, and there can be this profound, I think, role for storytelling in these sorts of modes and mediums. When you're talking about like Orthodoxy really fitting Asia and Japan, another little story from this book is actually a Catholic who became Orthodox in China. And he may have been, I don't know if he was an atheist before that or whatever, but he's like, we're a very traditional people. Like we value, we greatly value tradition. And he talked about how like the 1970s and 80s truly caused, actually what's interesting, okay, in this book, the liturgical reforms were very delayed in China. because there wasn't good communication. So
That
they were
makes sense.
celebrating the old mass much longer than everybody else. And when eventually it was enforced, it caused a great crisis for him because they're a traditional people that you just keep doing what's been handed on to you. And so to rewire, to overhaul all these things caused a bit of a crisis for himself and others. And so he had the opportunity to be able to encounter Orthodox Christianity and became Orthodox.
Do you know this happened to do you know this story? A certain Spaniard, the same thing happened. Do you know
I
where I'm
didn't know
going
that.
with this? So Saint Jose Maria Escriva never
Oh, well, I know
celebrated the new
him. Yeah,
mass.
I know.
Yeah. He
Jose
never
Maria.
celebrated the new mass, and he claimed it was because he was blind and he couldn't learn the new mass. But there's actually documentation that he traveled to Constantinople and inquired about converting to Orthodoxy. And when the Patriarch of Constantinople, he said, "But I want to bring Opus Dei." And the Patriarch of Constantinople said, "We don't really do stuff like that." And so he ended up staying in the Catholic Church. But Jose Maria Escriva was very close to becoming Orthodox.
That I had no idea about that.
Mm-hmm.
That's breaking news.
Yeah, it's documented. I think I read about it. I was reading his Wikipedia page, and I read about this, and I was like, "No!" And I looked it up, and there's documentation about it.
Yeah, I
And
mean, I've got like this devotional book by him that I would used to read every day. By him.
I have a lot of respect for him as a spiritual writer. Probably not a
Yeah,
popular opinion
yeah,
among
you can
Orthodox.
find that for sure. So it's like to find out that he was like not only exploring Orthodoxy, but pretty much proposed to become Orthodox is a fascinating. You're gonna have to send me that article. This is
He was
breaking
talking
news.
to the EP, yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it doesn't. I couldn't find conclusively why he decided not to. Maybe he had a change of heart and just decided that he wanted to stay Catholic. But it
sure.
seemed like there was a disagreement about the status of Opus Dei, and so he opted to stay Catholic. Whether even if the EP had said that he could bring Opus Dei, he still would have changed his mind. I don't know. I don't want to disparage a Catholic saint, but I thought that was fascinating.
Yeah, it is fascinating.
So I think that there's going to be a real shift in the way people perceive Orthodoxy as a live option that's ongoing right now. I really don't think that most people take Orthodoxy seriously yet, but that's going to change in the next couple of years. You do have lots of people who are coming into the Orthodox Church, but it's not seen as an equal contender with Protestantism and Catholicism yet in the sort of the popular imagination. But I really think that's going to change. That is changing, and it's going to change very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, people have to hear about it. I mean, we had our 7th child at the hospital, and they thought we were Orthodox Jews. Like they didn't even know what Orthodox Christianity even was. Like this is a hospital system, like an institution.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, there has to be an introduction. Okay, this is what Orthodox Christianity is.
Yeah.
Secondly, this is why it's plausible. Thirdly, this is why it's hard. Because even when people first start checking it out, well, this is hard. This is different. I don't like that. Well, okay, but why is hard okay? Like, well, Jesus said, pick up your cross. Look at the ancient liturgies of the church. Look at ancient repentance. Look at, and then helping people discover ancient Christianity and the fathers is pretty key to all this. But it's just going to take some time. And we're beginning to see the arc kind of like in that statistical sort of graph. It's beginning to arch.
Yeah.
And so parishes that are doubling and tripling in size is just the beginning. Like we've got a real issue on our hands as far as not only where to put everybody for worship, but like how do you accompany all these people?
We went to a different OCA parish, and then we moved to the one where we're now, and the other one was just bursting at the seams. But my understanding is that the one that we go to now, I think the on average church attendance of 5 years ago was, I think it was like 20, 25 people, and now we're like pushing 200.
Mm-hmm.
And the average age, I'm 30. I don't remember. I think I'm 31. I might be 30. The average, I'm in the top 50th percentile age wise. Most of there's young men and women. It's probably 50-50. To be honest, I think the gender disparity is also evening out. That's another question, another matter. But we have a lot of like mid 20s couples, boyfriends and girlfriends, who are coming into the Orthodox Church together. And some of them will get married, some of them won't, but like they're on this journey together, and it's totally sincere. And this is again, this has totally changed the demographic of the parish radically just in the last couple of years. It's glory to God, it's incredible. But there are people, some of these early adopters who've been here for, these converts who've been here for 5 years say, like, before it was like there was like 10 elderly Russians and Ukrainians, and now there's like 200 people. We have people from China. We have parishioners from China, parishioners from Ethiopia, Canada, France, yeah, different parts of Europe. Obviously, like we have a bunch of Ukrainian refugees who have come over here recently. We have Russians. We have people. We have a couple of people from Lebanon. It's amazing. It's like the most diverse parish I've ever belonged to.
The Wise Phone 2, which I currently use as my phone. It's an amazing phone that helps you not doom scroll or be addicted to social media and other vices because it doesn't have a web browser, but it does function like a phone. You can call, you can text, you can take pictures, you can do videos. It even has apps like Uber and Lyft. You can order food, maps to get around town, all the things that you kind of need in this modern life. While at the same time, being able to have a boundary between you and work or you and distractions. So you can be more present with your family, with your kids, with your spouse, whomever. This has been a very freeing experience for me to have the Wise Phone 2. Again, you can get $40 off through my discount code KING today. That's awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's a lot of cool things happening in my parish as well. And we're talking about starting missions because it's like the only
Us
option.
too.
Yeah, it's just the only option. You got to start missions. And so it's exciting. It's pretty cool.
Mhm.
But to sober us out a little bit, it's like, yeah, Orthodoxy is still only like what, 1 to 2% of America.
Mm.
Like it's still small, and I've always told this to people who are like, Orthodoxy is going to become, America is going to become Orthodox in like 20 years. I'm like, we would have to grow faster than the early church. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know if you understand that. Like,
Took them
like we'd have
300
to do better
years.
than the apostles. It's like that's probably not going to happen because I know myself, and I also know everybody else at church, and we're still watching too much YouTube and not reading our scriptures and not reading like we're not doing what we need to do for that growth to
Good.
happen. So first of all, we need to change.
Yeah.
Secondly, for us to go from 1 to 2% to even 10%, that's extreme growth
Mm.
to become 10% of America. Even just a seriousness of a soberness of like creating a powerhouse of catechesis, powerhouse
Mm.
of discipleship. If we're not doing that, then there's going to be a little bit of a mess if we're bringing in this many people and we're not taking our faith to the next level.
There was a study that came out recently that showed, I don't even know if it's true or not, that Orthodoxy is the fastest shrinking religion in the world. And this was getting touted by some Protestant and Catholic apologists and
Yeah,
stuff like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
And it's like, I'm willing to believe that it's true that like the sort of, unfortunately, like a lot of especially the Greek Orthodox in America are leaving faster than converts are joining and whatever. Um, I assume that's what it would be, but I could be slandering the Greeks. Um, but you know what? It's like, but when you go to these parishes, that even if there's only like three in a state, right? But they're all experiencing this incredible, dynamic, explosive growth. That you realize it's not a numbers game. There's a renewal that's happening in the Orthodox Church, and God willing, it will help some of those, those cradle Orthodox to stay in the church.
Yeah.
They'll bring some back. Like, this is not a converts
Mhm.
versus cradle game at all. It
No,
just
no, 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 no. It's not. Yeah,
But
it's not.
like, it's like you see, it's like even if overall we're shrinking, there's clearly you see the Holy Spirit working in the Orthodox Church, and this might be something that non-Orthodox say to comfort them. Maybe it comforts them because, but we who are part of this, we see the dynamism. We see the miraculous spirit-led dynamism in the Orthodox Church, and it's like the pearl of great price. You have it. You don't want to argue with people about its value. You don't want to haggle over this thing this precious thing that you've sold all of your possessions to buy. It's not the way.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I like to bring that up, the sobering statistics, not because, I'm a doomsayer. It's about facing reality.
Yeah.
So, it's like, if we think that things are just gonna magically happen, right? Like, "Oh, Orthodoxy is just gonna grow with us just, like, not doing anything."
Yeah.
That's not how it works. If you just care about your kids keeping the faith, that will do it.
Hmm.
If you care about your kids maintaining the faith into adulthood and your grandkids, that will take care of a lot right there.
Amen.
And then that'll also draw back the nominal ones who have left, and then missions will start. And so, um, I I just like to bring that up because there can be a lot of fantasy thinking sometimes, like, oh, like there so and so said this, therefore it's going to happen. It's like, well, we have to adopt the practices that the apostles and the fathers practiced, like they adopted themselves,
Amen.
and we need to face that reality.
C.S. Lewis has a beautiful essay about this when he was asked by, he was, he was part of this kind of like Christian Renaissance, right? Him and Evelyn Waugh and Graham Greene and others in England in the sort of the post-war era. And he was asked by this journalist, like, do you think that this is going to lead to the re-Christianization of England? He said maybe, or maybe not. It's but he said it's stupid to this. He says, I'm certain that that part of this is just a fad, but Christianity is not a fad. And there are some people who will adopt this because it's the cool thing to do, but there are others who will have sincere conversions. And again, his point was that it's not a numbers game. It's about the individual soul coming to Christ. And whether whether this orthodoxy fad, as it were, whether if it yields 100 fake conversions and one real conversion, it was worth it for the sake of that one soul, the one lost sheep that was found and returned to the flock, right?
Yeah, that's well said. Yep. Yeah, that's when you sort of adopt the heart of Christ, just going after that one lost sheep, that one person that you know at work, that one person you know in your family, that one person that you know. If you just love them and embrace them and show them Christ, and perhaps Orthodoxy will come up, that's how it works. And
Yeah.
so that's why I think it's what you're saying is quite important. Is you got to keep everything grassroots. Like this is how we operate as Christians, and then God's going to take care of the rest.
And the more I think, I know it's such a cliche, but it's so true what Saint Seraphim of Sarov said, that if you acquire the spirit of peace, thousands around
Right.
you will be saved. And
Exactly.
he didn't mean like you will save thousands of people. And this is like that you don't want to fall into that delusion that if I am so holy and so kind and so peaceful, that I will be my animal magnetism will just draw people to the Orthodox Church. They'll just say, "Ooh, I want to be like Michael Warren Davis. I'll become Orthodox." Like, that's not what he's talking about. He's saying that Anthony Bloom actually has a beautiful reflection on this, where he says that the sail can only carry the boat because it's so limp, that it can pick up the wind. And likewise, like, the surgeon has no use for a gauntlet. He needs the thin, fine glove. And this is how we should view ourselves as Christians. Our job is to become empty vessels for the Spirit of God to move us as He sees fit. And I think that this is kind of what to be honest, like, my patron saint is Saint Paisius of Mount Athos, and he's one of those people that you look at and you're like, I want to be whatever he is. I just want to be him. And and you read his spiritual counsels, and he's so magnetic. And Saint Seraphim of Sarov is the same way, right? You look at an icon of Saint Seraphim, and you you love him, you want to be him, you want to be with him and like him. And then you read his life, and he never. Saint Herman of Alaska, he's right there. He same thing. You just want to be like Saint Herman. You just fall in love with him. And so it is actually true to a certain extent that, like, the deep, like, the incredible, like, highest level saints, they do have that kind of magnetism, right? You just want to imitate them. You want to be like them.